So we're going to dive right into the thick of things, talking about the Patriots. Okay, we're going to talk about the Patriots and talk about Jerod Mayo. Now, Jerod Mayo, like I mentioned, he just got named the head coach of the New England Patriots after 24, I would say, long and successful long and successful years under Bill Belichick. And he is not Bill Belichick, right? He is not Bill Belichick. Belichick is very tight-lipped. He wants to keep everything close to the vest. He'll never let the media, never let the fans know what's going on, what the process is like. And yet, Jerod Mayo has already jumped that gun. He is on the complete opposite end of the train, telling the fans kind of exactly what they want to hear, right? He's telling the fans that, here it is, quote, "We're bringing in talent, 1,000%. We have a lot of cap space in cash. We're ready to burn some cash." He said that on the Greg Hill show on WEEI just a few days ago. And that is a very, I want to say, interesting quote, right? It is a very interesting quote because there's a lot to it, okay? There's a lot to break down with that because when you think about it, right? When you think about they want to burn cash. Now, New England has been one of the worst real cash spending teams in NFL history. And now they want to imitate the Red Sox there. That's Jerod Mayo's way of saying we're going full throttle, right? Are we really going to have this, Red Sox are saying it, now the Pats are going to say it? But next season, they have roughly $118 million of real money spending for next season on the books. That's exactly what they have. The salary cap is projected to hit around 240. And now there's a 90% rule over the next 3 seasons from 24 to 26. And they can spend it all right now, or they can, build it off over the next 3 seasons. Okay. Keep spending, but raise it up. When looking at the Patriots and how they rank in cash spending, here it is. The Patriots rank 3rd in cap space coming into 2024. They are ranked 30th of 32 teams in real cash spending at $188 million. Now, I just want to let you know, real cash spending is what matters. The salary cap, you can fudge those numbers. You can, throw signing bonuses in, and that will affect the cap by also eliminating and freeing up some cap space. There's a lot of ways you can manipulate the salary cap. The only thing that truly matters in the NFL is real cash spending. So that's a big thing, ranking 30th of 32 teams in cash spending at $188 million. Whereas they were as high as 3rd in 2021, totaling $222 million. So they've gotten as high as 3rd and as low as 31st over the past decade in 2020 and in 2014, which, if you all remember, in 2014, they won the Super Bowl. They had Darrelle Revis, Brandon Browner. They had Jerod Mayo was on that roster. He got hurt, but he was on that roster. Chandler Jones, Dante Hightower, Tom Brady, Julian Edelman, Rob Gronkowski. Again, and yet they were 31st that year in terms of cash spending. Now, over the last 10 years, the Patriots rank absolute last in cash spending at $1.62 billion. Now, if you want to compare that to the Eagles, who were first over that same time period, spending $1.92 billion. That is $300 million that the Pats are, you could argue, pocketing. And with them pocketing that, what could they spend that on, right? What are they able to use that on? I mean, you could argue, oh, well, they could use it to pay their coaching staff because Bill Belichick was arguably the highest paid coach in the NFL. Okay, but that's $25 million a year if we want to guesstimate what Bill's contract was, right? We have a fairly good idea. It was around 20 to 25 million per season. But again, if you're pocketing 300 million and you're telling me that over that time frame, Bill's contract didn't fluctuate, it didn't go from like 15 to 25, something like that. So again, there's still more money that is able to spend. But wait a minute, hold on. I just thought of this. Didn't the Patriots just put in a giant lighthouse and a massive scoreboard, which width-wise is perfect? It is cool. It is awesome. But then when you do it comparative height-wise, you're like, there's so much left to be desired. Okay, so, and yet they're talking about how, oh, that lighthouse is so cool because you can see all the way from Providence to Boston and you get to look over Foxborough Center. Yay, Foxborough Center. Ooh, I'm so excited to see Foxborough Center because it's not like, Foxborough is this high popping area. It's not like the only attraction, if you ever wanted to go to Foxborough, was Patriot Place and Gillette Stadium. No. Foxborough Center is where everything is at. That's what's happening, baby. That's what's happening. Spare me, right? Spare me the theatrics. Spare me the idea that, I want to see Foxborough Center, that I want to see the view of downtown Providence, the view of downtown Boston, all the way in this freaking lighthouse that honestly they only used, celebrities to ring the bell, which the bell wasn't even attached to the lighthouse. They wheeled in a bell to attach to the lighthouse. So that was kind of, interesting to me when I saw that and saw the fact that, once again, over the last decade, they ranked dead last in real cash spending at $1.62 billion, saving essentially $300 million compared to what the Eagles have done in the same time frame. And so it brings me to Jerod and what he has said to the media. He has gone on, and like I showed, we're bringing in talent 1,000%. We have a lot of cap space in cash. We're ready to burn some cash. Great. Love it. I thought the Red Sox were going to do that, but they didn't. They screwed us over. And again, I'll get to that later. I mentioned it last week. I'll get to it again. But this time, you have Jerod talking about burning cash and doing that, which I'm like, great. That's awesome. I want that. Now, who are they going to spend it on? That's the $1 million question. What other areas of need, and who can they spend that on in free agency before the draft, so that way they can address some key points in free agency and then take that and what they know from their roster makeup and use their draft capital wisely. Great. Let's do that. Let's look at some of the top 10 free agents listed by Pro Football Focus. Now, this is all in all, there are no franchise tags yet, no re-sign. As far as we know, this is the top 10, right? Top 10 overall. Defensive tackle Chris Jones from Kansas City. I like that, but I doubt he's leaving Kansas City, but he's not coming here. Where our D-line is, I would say, pretty good. Not great, but pretty good. And I would be shocked if he left. Next, Kirk Cousins. I think you're going to get into a bidding war with Kirk Cousins. I would love to have Kirk Cousins, and I think he's definitely going to fit an area of need, but more on that in a little bit. Defensive end, Josh Allen, not happening. T. Higgins, I'll get more to that in a little later. Justin Matabuke is a defensive tackle out of Baltimore. Baltimore is riding high. They're in the AFC Championship, just like Chris Jones is. And that is going to be interesting. And I don't see him leaving Baltimore. Christian Wilkins, DN, Miami. Nope. He's probably past his prime. Antoine Winfield, safety. I would say you definitely need one of your areas of need, I think, is definitely in the DB room, and safety being one of them. And with the way Winfield played in Tampa this past season, I would love to have Antoine Winfield. But between Tampa and probably some need from other teams at that position, there's no way you're going to spend, that money on him. I would be shocked if they did. Let's put it that way. And then you have two corners, Jalen Johnson out of Chicago and L'Jarius Sneed out of Kansas City. Again, Sneed is in the AFC Championship. Jalen Johnson, I think he's probably long gone. So, okay, that's great. We have those. Those are the top 10, a lot of which are on defense. And as we know, New England is not short of defensive players. They have a great assortment of defensive players and ranking top 10 in defense, if not, at worst, top half of the league every year. So now if we want to address an area of need, let's look at the top 3 offensive linemen. Top 3 offensive linemen, we have Tyron Smith. Oh, and look at that. Number 2 is Trent Brown. And number 3 is Michael Onwenu. And that's interesting to me that you have Tyron Williams, who's number 1, and he's going to command a lot of money. There's no two ways about it. But he's hurt. He's hurt quite often. And if he can stay healthy, then he's worth the money. But he can't. Next, we have Trent Brown, who he literally was only here because of Tom Brady. Number 77 was only here because of Tom Brady. And the fact when Tom Brady was gone, he just didn't give a shit. Honestly, that's exactly how it ended with him. He did not give a damn about being out there, making his, name. He just was like, I'm done. And New England tried to pay him. They tried to give him extra money, more cash to incentivize him. And that honestly only lasted for so long. The next is Michael Onwenu. Now, I like Onwenu. I think he would be great staying in New England. But again, he's going to command a lot of money himself. So I'm not sure. And again, it's not like New England doesn't have the cap either. That's the thing. They have plenty of room, plenty of real cash, not the salary cap, plenty of real cash to spend. But the $1 million question is, will they? And so with Onwenu, they should, but it remains to be seen. Next, they definitely have an area, wide receiver area of need. There's no two ways about it. If you're telling me that Kendrick Bourne, Devontae Parker, Pop Douglas, Juju Smith-Schuster, that is a solid receiving room, then you're out of your mind. The only two guys that I actually like are Pop Douglas, who I think he definitely needs to get bigger. That's number 1. Number 2 with Pop Douglas is he has to stay healthy. And he's very dynamic. He's shifty. He's a very good receiver when he gets the ball in his hands. Thing is, he need to get the ball in his hands, and he's small. And then Kendrick Bourne, as much as I like Bourne, he's a good player, but I feel like Bourne, at best, is a borderline number 2 receiver. Borderline number 2, whereas I think Bourne would thrive as that number 3, true slot guy, but then him and Douglas would be going back and forth. Juju, done. Get him out of here. I am sick of. I'm just sick of him. He's worthless. And same with Devontae Parker. Yeah, all right. He had a couple good catches in the last 2 games of the season, but overall, Devontae Parker, I never liked him. The dude's dealing with soft tissue injuries left and right. He's at best a bum. Sorry. That's what he is. He had that, what was it, flare up with the media midway through the year, talking about, the ball never hit my hand, dude. It clearly was in his hand. It clearly wasn't fingertips. It was smack dab right here, and he dropped it. And so I have a problem with that. I had, his attitude. He just didn't take accountability. That's really what bothered me. He's like, he didn't take accountability. He's like, just acting stupid. And so that bothered me. So going into this, we definitely need a wide receiver upgrade. And starting from left to right, you got T. Higgins from Cincinnati. Now, T. Higgins, okay, he's good, but he's, again, going to be franchise tagged by Cincinnati. I would be shocked if he hits the open market. And so if he's franchise tagged, well, there goes that option. There goes the option that everybody was hoping for, especially in New England. Next, you have Michael Pittman Jr., who is, again, a good receiver. I think they need to keep him. Due to the fact that that receiving room is not deep. That receiving room is not deep. And will he, help them? Yeah, he'll help them. But it's not like he's going to leapfrog anybody, right? He's a very good number 2. And again, Indy, if they can't get him re-signed, will probably franchise tag him. Third, Mike Evans. Would love to have Mike Evans. I know he's, on the wrong side of 30 now, being 30 years old. But he, again, the dude just puts up 1,000-yard seasons no matter who his quarterback is. Jameis Winston, Tom Brady, Baker Mayfield, right? He just puts up 1,000-yard seasons year after year after year. Lately, though, he has had issue with his drops. So that's going to be really suspect to me. But I would love to have Mike Evans. And, unfortunately, I don't believe New England's going to shell out the amount of real money it's going to take to get Mike Evans, due to the fact that they're like, well, last offseason, we re-signed Devontae Parker for 3 years at $33 million because he threw a hissy fit to Bill Belichick that the Patriots were interested in DeAndre Hopkins. And if I was in that room and Devontae Parker came to me and said, I don't like the fact that you're courting DeAndre Hopkins, I am here. I know the system. I want, restructure. And I would have looked at him and told him to go prove it, because clearly he hasn't proved it. And I don't believe he's proved it. I don't believe he's proved to be the $11 million a year receiver with that. So it's bothersome to me that, technically we have the number 1 guy, but I guarantee you he will either 1, not finish out the season, or 2, Devontae Parker is going to get injured over the life of his contract and only play a certain amount of games for the remaining life of the contract. I wouldn't be surprised at that. Next, you have Marquise Hollywood Brown of the Cardinals. And I would be shocked if the Cardinals got rid of him. I mean, they did trade for him. last off season. So there is some continuity with that. I think they're gonna try to keep him and ride it out with Kyler Murray. That's their goal. Their goal is to ride it out with Kyler Murray. And so I can see them keeping Brown as well. However they do it. And it's not like he's going to command a lot of money either, I would assume, because the dude really hasn't done enough to make it worth a big second contract. I think he'll try to, get a short-term deal with Arizona, maybe 1-2 year deal as kind of all right, I'll go out and prove it now that we're really stabilized with Kyler, especially due to the fact that Kyler had to come back from his torn ACL after last season. And then lastly, Calvin Ridley. I am really interested in Calvin Ridley. I think he is a get type of player. I think there is the possibility of the Pats signing him, not only to a good deal for both sides, but he did sit out a year. He did have that whole gambling issue. And then this season, he honestly put up a quiet 1,000-yard season. I think he put up a quiet 1,000-yard season. He did enough to get through, to get by. And I would like to add him to the roster because Juju's done. I just want Juju to retire so that way New England doesn't have to pay him a damn thing anymore, because it was a joke. We gave up Jacoby Myers and traded and spent more money to get Juju Smith-Schuster. Absolute joke. Absolute joke. And then the other aspect that New England desperately needs is a quarterback. They're the number 3 overall pick. There are talks about them getting Jerod Mayo or Jaden Daniels. And I like both guys. I think Jaden Daniels is not physically ready for the NFL. I think he's too small. I think he's too skinny. And I'm not saying the dude can't run. He can't throw. Obviously, he, I think, led the nation in deep ball passing. So there's that. But I think he's just too small. A couple hits from some of these 350-pound guys, a hit from Chris Jones, and his season could be over like that. Now, Drake May is also not massive either, but he's more stocky. He's more built. And with that, I would be more comfortable. Yet at the end of the day, I would prefer to sign a guy off free agency and have them play for a year while the kid we drafted 3 overall is going to sit. Now, with that being said, these are the top 4 quarterbacks, I think, according to Pro Football Focus. And it's Kirk Cousins, who, like I mentioned earlier, I would love to sign. I would love it because I think what it's going to do is it's going to give this offense more, I want to say credibility, but I don't think that's the right word. It's just going to help bridge. I think it's going to bridge the gap, right? I think we could sign Kirk to a 2-year, fully extended, fully guaranteed deal, which I think Kirk Cousins is one of very, 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 very few players to have multiple fully guaranteed contracts. And I wouldn't be surprised if that continues. That being said, sign him to a couple-year deal. Hopefully he can survive the whole deal, never gets injured, in which case it leaves the door wide open to Jaden Daniels to get bigger, stronger, and be able to survive getting hit all the time, or at least to Drake May, who, again, can do the same thing, but also can allow both of them to sit back, take it all in, take what the NFL is giving them, and pull a Jordan Love, right? Jordan Love sat for 3 years behind Aaron Rodgers, and look how well Green Bay is doing. It's like the Packers haven't missed a beat. And that's why I think that's going to be big time for them. But keep going on. You have Ryan Tannehill, who I think is 35. Now, he fits that mold that I was saying, but why would we go after Tannehill? I think Tannehill is a bum. I've never liked Tannehill. From his days in Miami to his days in Tennessee, I couldn't believe he got the Titans to an AFC title game. But if memory serves right, that was during the COVID year. So again, everything was, kind of crazy that year. And then Baker Mayfield, I don't think Baker's leaving Tampa Bay. I think he's going to be in Tampa Bay for the foreseeable future. And I think that's going to be a done deal. And especially if they can bring back Mike Evans, then it's really going to be a done deal. I think Baker will do whatever it takes to stay in Tampa because the guy's already bounced around with 3 other teams, including that whole fiasco where he got traded or he got placed on waivers, picked up by the Rams, and started that week, which in turn he led them on a game-winning drive without barely even knowing the offense. So that was wild. And then the last guy here is Gardner Minshew. I've been a big Gardner Minshew fan for the longest time, coming out of Washington State. And I think with him is the fact that, he's still young though. He's 27, and with him being 27, I don't like the fact that it's not a perfect bridge year, right? Gardner Minshew doesn't want to be either a journeyman or a bridge quarterback. He doesn't want to fill in now for the future guy. He still has a career left to be played. He's 27 years old. So why would he do that? And so I think there are some options here at quarterback, but the only perfect option, in my opinion, has to be Kirk Cousins. It has to be. He's old enough where he's like, I've made all my money. I don't care. I can help the next guy, learn and thrive and become the superstar that he needs to be, while also, providing for the team and helping New England go farther than 4-13, right? So I would take Kirk Cousins over anybody. And as I mentioned earlier, when talking about them being able to spend money, and as Jerod alluded to, again, bottom line, we're ready to burn some cash. I want them to do it. I really do. And I'm not going to fault them for going out and signing guys and spending big, knowing full well that the talent pool in free agency isn't that strong. That's kind of the big thing that I was trying to show you with those rankings. It's, you can't get one of those old linemen because Trent Brown refuses to come back. He is done. He is checked out. Owenu, I think you can bring him back. You should, but you're going to have to overspend. And some of these other guys, Kirk Cousins, you're going to have to overspend on for a handful of years. Ryan Tannehill, if you really want him just as a filler, you're going to have to spend a good amount of money, because even though he might not command a lot of teams are still going to come in and try to go after him. So he's going to have some sort of market coming into this free agency period. And so, as I mentioned, again, the Patriots have $118 million committed to next season's roster, and are projected to, and the salary cap is projected to hit around 240, right? $240 million. And if the Pats were to get to that 90% floor for 2024, like I said, there is that the 90% rule where teams need to spend up to 90% in cash from 2024 to 2026. And cash spending is the, paid out, is the money that's paid out, called real cash. And you can do that by several ways, including, just again, paying guys out through signing bonuses, guaranteed contracts, so on and so forth, bonuses. But if they were to hit that 90% floor for 2024, then the Patriots would need to shell out almost $100 million. So if you look at it like this, those guys at positions that we desperately need, those are the types of guys where you could probably sign Kirk Cousins to, it's going to be a lot of that, probably close to 40 to 50 million a year, for 2-3 years, depending on what he's thinking. And if you can get him for, I would say that 2 years, then you probably have to pay him 2 at 80 at the cheapest, or 2 at 100 at the most. And that's going to be a lot, and fully guaranteed. So that's like 50 right there. And then with Mike Evans, if you want him, if T. Higgins isn't available, Michael Pittman Jr. is not available, you're going to really be strapped if you're going to try to go after Kirk Cousins, or any of these quarterbacks, really. I think Gardner, obviously, you can get cheaper. You're going to get him more in the, I would say, 20 to 30 range. Baker, I would say 30 range, because they made the NFC divisional round against the Lions. Played a good game, but got shellacked. got bum rushed a lot. So there's still a lot of money for them to be able to spend. And then when it comes to the third overall pick, right, Jerod Mayo, when it comes to the third overall pick and asking, who are they going to take? And he says, quote, "We're going to take the best available player for the biggest need on the team. Offensive line, receiver, quarterback, pick your choice." Well, I think part of it depends on what you do in the free agency period. But it's not like I feel confident with the amount of O-line talent that could hit free agency. Don't forget that. None of these guys are truly in free agency yet. They still have to go through that re-signing phase and the franchise tag phase. So none of those guys are available. O-line, I don't like the talent there. Receiving core, yeah, you have Marvin Harrison Jr., but there are guys you can definitely get, guys from Washington. But at the end of the day, who do you like? Everyone's talking about the most important position in the NFL, which is the quarterback. And you're going to need to get a quarterback. You're going to need that future guy. It just is going to depend on, how are you going to do it? Who are you going to go after that is concerning like that, right? Are you going to shell out all this money for a Kirk Cousins, Ryan Tannehill, or are you going to just let the new kid have at it? So that's interesting. And then another point for New England is the fact that New England's on an offensive coordinator search. They're on a full coordinator search, and I love it. They didn't do this for the head coach, which I think isn't the best move for them. I thought they should have at least, talked to Mike Vrabel, talked to some of the other, coaches out there, some of the other offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, and they're, just to see what their philosophies are like and learn more from them. And then if you do still end up with Jerod Mayo, you can tell them, hey, this is what is going on now in the league. This is what we have to change our offense to be. We're done with this. We're done with the Brady, Charlie Weiss, Josh McDaniels offense. Now we have to focus on this new brand of offense, the Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, system. So with that, they have been interviewing some guys, one of which I wish, we could have gotten, but it fell through due to the fact that, the offensive coordinator position in Cincinnati opened up, and that is Dan Pitcher. Dan Pitcher had a Zoom interview yesterday with New England. He was the quarterback's coach. He's responsible for the third down packages, as well as had some experience with the in-game clock management, which, as us Patriots fans know clock management is one of the most important and underrated aspects of a head coach's job, and nobody did it better than Bill. Nobody did it better than Bill. I learned my clock management from watching the Patriots and Bill Belichick. There's no two ways about that. So the fact that he was the quarterback's coach, he's had a great relationship with Joe Burrow, obviously helped Jake Browning succeed and surpass kind of what I think we all thought he was going to be. I thought that was great, but again, at the end of the day, even before I saw the report that he was, he was staying in Cincinnati to be their OC. Again, with all of that, Burrow, Chase, T. Higgins, that O-line, which played better, I thought, this season. Why would he leave? The offensive coordinator just got the head coaching job with Tennessee. Why would this guy give up the opportunity to be an offensive coordinator with a team that who the hell do we have? I think that's the $1 million question. Who the hell do we have that he can work with? Here, he's got the receivers, he's got the quarterback, he's got the O-line. What more do you want? Now he gets to run his thing. And the Patriots also met with former Patriot Nick Caley, who was a former Patriots staffer from 2015 to 2022. He was the Rams tight end coach this season, was able to see what the Sean McVay system is like. So at least he's got some experience with that, as well as helping the development of fifth rounder Davis Allen. And the other Rams guy that the Patriots were talking to is Zach Robinson, who was a former Patriots draft pick in 2010, but didn't make it out of training camp, bounced around the league for a few years, ended up going to PFF as an analyst, and was a QB tutor before becoming an assistant quarterbacks coach for the Rams in 2019, being promoted to quarterbacks coach and passing game coordinator in 2022. Now, with all that being said, I know I just threw a lot of information at you. With all that being said, one of the guys that I would prefer if I had to choose is definitely Zach Robinson. I would definitely prefer to have Zach Robinson over Nick Caley, not just because Nick Caley worked here for a long time and only is 1 year away from New England, but also because, he's the quarterback's coach and passing game coordinator. That is, huge to me because it goes to show he has an understanding of what the passing game is going to look like, learning under McVay, coaching under McVay, seeing that for a long time, I think is going to help him be an offensive coordinator. If it's not here, it's somewhere else. Excuse me. Also, just a couple quick side notes. The Pats are looking at Rams assistant special teams coach Jeremy Springer and requested to speak to Marquise Williams from Atlanta. As for the defensive coordinator search, everything sounds like it's turning up. DeMarcus Covington, who was the defensive line coach for New England this season, he's a strong favorite. And again, I'm not opposed to having him. I thought the D-line is probably one of the best parts of the defense this season. Especially with the way Christian Barmore just absolutely turned up. I loved it. And, I'm excited to see what he can be like in the future. Hopefully, he's a piece you need to build around. Christian Barmore is absolutely a piece you need to build around. As well as a couple other guys. Michael Hodges, Saints assistant, has done very well with the Saints defense. Christian Parker is the DB's coach. He's young. He's 32. Has really helped Pat Surtain become a success in the league. So I think that's good. But one of the $1 million questions that I have is who's going to have the final say? Free agency, again, it's not here yet, but it will be soon. And who's going to have the final say? Who's going to have the final say on trades, drafting? I think that is a scary prospect and something I will absolutely get to next week because that in and of itself, I think, is worth a whole segment.